For me, I was always kind of conditioned from the moment I started losing weight to live a life of an uphill battle. That was the norm. Just consistently fighting, consistently going up. But it ruined me. Like, I burnt out so many times, all times that I can count. And in moments of my life where I became the person I didn't want to be. There was one time where I came home, I was crying so much, and I just said, this is fuck. Like, I can't keep living like this. And then mum said to me, just lose 8 kilos. And then the 8 kilos led to 14, which led to 18, which led to 24. And I was like 14 years old. I remember saying to myself on countless occasions, you're never going to lose the weight. This is always how it's always going to be. You're never going to get good grades at school. Because I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia at a really young age. So I was like, you're going to be a dropout. Just leave school. Don't worry about sport. You're never going to be a professional in any area. All that type of head noise, all that negativity. I had that for so long, for so many years. And it was when I saw somebody else go through it, I was like, damn, fuck, actually possible.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I'm your podcast host, Luke, and I have a very, very interesting, insightful, and I'm going to say this unbelievable international guest, because he actually does live in Manchester, UK, but he's come all the way over from the other side of the world, Australia. His name is Boston. He's a master in sport and exercise. He's a scientist, and he is a master in nutrition as well. So he's got a wealth of knowledge, but also he's gone through a very, very deep transformative journey himself, and he's here today to not only share his story but sort of share the stuff that he's even put out online. You'll see his story, and he's very open about it. We connected through a fellow sort of entrepreneurial group. I've got to plug him in, Callum with a K. He got us sort of chatting together, and here we are. This is the beauty of sort of connections and introductions. So Boston, look man, I want to welcome you into our podcast today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
And it's I think really just in terms of sort of people that are not too sure, because I think, when you say the word master, obviously you've got the sport and exercise, the nutrition, just for anyone that's not really sure about that sort of journey or even the qualification knowledge, what does that sort of mean and look like?
Yeah, definitely. So to put in perspective, my bachelor degree was a biomedical science degree where I focused on human anatomy and physiology. From that, I decided to go in and do a master's degree in sport and exercise physiology, where I predominantly focused in the realm of physiological science. But my real, you could say, passion and interest went towards nutrition. So I decided to get a qualification in sports nutrition as well. So you could say I've got a master's degree in sport and exercise physiology whilst doing postgraduate study in nutrition with a sport nutritionist qualification as well.
Right. Okay. That's really good. So just in terms of the nutrition part, you said your passion was in the nutrition. What has drawn you to that? What got you hooked on the nutrition, really?
Oh, so back in so I'm 27 now. When I was around 13, 12, I decided I wanted to lose weight.
Okay.
But it was really difficult because this was when the internet and YouTube started really popping. This is back in 2011, 2010.
Yeah.
So this is where
start picking up.
Yeah, exactly. Things like lemon water drinks and juicing and detox, all those, they were popping, bro. They were really making a lot of money.
Cider vinegar.
Yeah, all that jazz. The want to learn more about food was predominantly from that. And I was sick of when I would play sport, I couldn't keep up with people because I was too overweight. So I wasn't pursuing my sporting pursuits in a way that I wanted to, which really pissed me off because I love sport more than I did academics back in high school.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So at the same time, I was also very social. So I would go and talk to girls and stuff. And I was always really open to chatting with them and having conversations, but none of them really wanted to talk to me back. So this kind of sucks right now. How can I get on top of it? And that's where that initial spark for nutrition kind of came from. Now, my mum used to own a health food store in New Zealand back in 1980, 1970 maybe. I might be butchering that. She's probably going to be like, that was completely wrong. Anyway, so she owned a health food store, and this was when health food stores were basically laughed at. You know, she was trying to sell carrots as opposed to going to the shopping center, and people were like, "What are you doing? We'll just go to the shopping center to buy that." Like, you can't do that. So my mum always brought me up with like a whole food based, you could say, perspective. Good. So my problem when I was younger wasn't actually the fact of eating poor food; it was eating too much food. My dad was a Michelin star chef. He cooked for the Queen on a big cruise liner. So food was just abundant when I was younger. I loved it. Everything was sick. I couldn't get enough of it, which I'm really blessed for as well. But I couldn't say no to the amount of food. So because of that, and with my mum, as well as my mum's mum, she was doing lots of stuff in the garden, growing her own stuff out on a farm in Australia. Although all that combination of food and culinary, you could say, expertise, kind of pushed me towards studying nutrition, and the catalyst was for me to lose weight. So when people were in class, maybe this is only relevant to people who like had computers back in high school. Maybe they still do it now, I'm not too sure. But when everybody was playing games in class, when the teacher wasn't looking, people would quickly go and, you know, play a game of snakes or something like that. I was actually looking up, how do you lose body fat? Does apple cider vinegar really burn fat cells?
Yeah.
What does the steroids? Will creatine make me lose hair? Like all that type of stuff. I was looking that up from like such a young age. And that's when I realized, look, if I'm doing this instead of doing like actual high school stuff, I'm probably onto something here, and I want to pursue it. So from there, I lost the weight, which was sick. I did it in alternative methods that I'll probably speak about in a little bit. From there, I went into nutrition science, a nutritional science degree at university in Brisbane, Australia. That's where I'm from. And I got into my first year of it, and not to sound like an egotistical asshole, but it wasn't satisfying my itch. It wasn't challenging enough for me, which doesn't really make sense because I was told not to go into uni. Now I'm at uni because I didn't have the grade for it.
Who told you not to go into uni?
The director of academics for my high school, to help navigate people to choose a career path for them. He looked at my grades and he's like, "You should not do uni."
Okay.
And I literally left.
What was the reason though? Like,
because I just wasn't getting the grades. This was back at because the curriculum's a little bit different here in Australia compared to the UK, but I just simply wasn't getting the grades that would line me up to be attractive towards universities to go in. So he said, "Oh, just do a labouring job."
Oh my gosh! So, I mean, we'll keep going in a second, but I just want to check in on this because this is really powerful, really, Boston, in terms of what you're sharing. Because you're saying that from the early ages of 12, 13, so you would have been in, you know, the high school sort of thing. You was facing multiple rejection. You sort of was giving, but there's no receiving, and then you've got somebody there just knocking you down even further.
Yeah, basically,
you're not good enough. You know, you're not good enough. You need to just crack on it. So I'd love to know then, what kept you moving forwards? What kept you? That can be a lot of negativity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was, mate. Like, it sucked. Like, it essentially kind of came from me being like, "Well, who the fuck are you to tell me what I can do?" I remember leaving the office after that, and that was my first thought. I said to myself, "Who the fuck is he to tell me what I can do? I'm going to definitely prove him wrong." And then from there, that's where it kind of just went. And because, to kind of take it a step back, how I even got into that mindset really was me losing weight, because I got to a point where I came home from school, I was sick of the bullying, I was sick of nobody talking to me, I was sick of doing shit at sport because I couldn't run anywhere, like I couldn't play rugby like I wanted to, I couldn't play basketball like I wanted to, and those were my two favourite sports. I was sick of emotionally eating and hiding it as well. And I was sick of the persona I was getting at school of being that fat kid and being like the fat kid that people liked, and he was, you know, well known, but you're fat. And I didn't like that association. I don't want to live a life like this. And then there was one time where I came home, I was crying so much, and I just said, "This is fucked. Like, I can't keep living like this." And then mum said to me, "Just lose 8 kilos. And then the 8 kilos led to 14, which led to 18, which led to 24 when I was like 14 years old. But that moment there, that's the moment where I realized, holy shit, you can kind of live in two different mindsets One being the victim mindset, where everything's a problem, you know, or the second being you can grab everything and manipulate it at your own will if you try hard enough. And that was where I got that mindset from, to be like, well, fuck you to the teacher. I'm going to go to uni. It actually kind of also stemmed from, what was that movie by Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said, I watched that early on in my weight loss journey. And he said in it, I remember it, that he's like, Jim gave me the blueprint on how to be successful. And then I was like, sweet, I'm just going to do that. And then that's kind of like what I did back when I was younger, really young. So that was the early stages of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good though. I appreciate you sharing that sort of already distinctions on, the victim and the owner mindset. But I think but this is what's good though, at that moment in your life. I mean, we're talking, you're still a teenager, you're still, I guess, finding emotional intelligence. You're sort of understanding emotions in a way.
Yeah, I was around 13, 14 when I really gave it a red hot crack.
Right, okay. I'm just obviously hearing sort of a bit about your family background as well. And I mean, look what they achieved, I guess. You being around that, obviously your mother opening a store. Did you say your father was a chef, did you say?
Yeah. So he was a Michelin.
Michelin star, served for the Queen. So what I'm talking about is even you're seeing that, because kids soak things up like a sponge, right? So that's the possibility there, that if he can do it, I can, sort of thing. But you sort of took that in you. Through this time of, I guess, adversity, if you want to call it, did you have good family support? Did you speak 100%. About your emotions? Yeah. Did you share sort of how you was feeling in yourself?
Yeah. Where I grew up in Australia was very stereotypical middle class. Like, you're talking definition of middle class. My high school though was upper class. So I always felt out of touch when I went to my high school. Private school, all boys. Probably it was around, I'm not sure, £20,000, something like that, a year back then. I'm not sure what the school costs are here, but it wasn't cheap. But my dad and my mum, we were surrounded by people who had money and didn't care as much about money. But my parents did everything they could to get me to that high school. Everything that they sacrificed to get me there. Seeing that, what they would go through to get us there, that's what kind of, for me, was like that holy shit. Like, I don't feel in place with these people. I feel like an outcast because all these people are driving Mercedes and BMWs and all these type of nice cars, and they're going to school, and their parents are giving them $50 for £25 for a day's worth of food. So I always felt out of class. But my parents, and where I believe how I was able to flourish in that environment, was because of their support. So what in money we lacked in love. And that was something that I'll never take for granted in my life. That's the reason why I help people for a living this day, because I had people in my life that believed in me. So I help people believe in themselves when they don't have the other people. So yeah.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. Really nice piece.
Yeah.
The fact that, the love piece and then the money, like you can have all the blows and whistles and the shiny and, the sort of wealth in terms of the finances behind you, but, you can't beat that sort of support and connection in every single moment.
Yeah, so 100% supportive. However, my mum's dad was a heavyweight boxer for New Zealand. He was a champion heavyweight boxer of New Zealand. He was buckled, man, like all brain dead, all that type of stuff. So the one thing that I felt like was missing in my upbringing was that, things were like getting tough for me, because both my parents had an upbringing of like, if it's tough, endure it, like doesn't matter. So I had to learn how to balance that unconditional love with the same fact that, no one here is to save you. You need to go through it yourself. So it was a bit of that as well. Like, there were moments where I felt uncomfortable walking around my house with my shirt off because of what state I got myself in. And despite them being like, oh, you look like you're fine, whatever it might be, they knew I wasn't happy. So I had to figure it out on my own.
Okay, so it's a bit of family will always support you, I guess, be that shoulder to cry on, but you want that toughness as well.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And that's what I mean by like they're supportive. unconditionally,
Yeah.
loved me unconditionally, and they still do. They're always there for me now.
Yeah.
But there were moments where it's like, do you need to do this on your own? You need to figure out. They didn't bubble wrap me, basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So because this is relatable to a lot of people, by the way.
Yeah,
Boston, that they might be in a place right now in a different realm of their life. Just I'd love to hear sort of your perspective and sort of where you decide that decision, that choice that you made. So if someone who's listening in on this sort of podcast episode today and they feel that, sort of they've always got their family support, it doesn't matter what they do, anything that they say, they're going to back it. Yeah, you've got this, you can do it, son, you can do it, daughter, whatever. They're fully backing it. So they've got the family support, but they know deep down that they're not happy. But they'll keep saying it to their parents. They're not happy. The parents will be like, you'll be okay. It's work itself out, that kind of thing. Obviously, you've been through a similar journey, but like you said, you had to go within, you had to find yourself. What did you expose yourself to? What got this sort of fire in your belly or this switch of mindset, if you can remember, that helped sort of, I guess, build it up, really?
I love that word. Did you say expose yourself to? Or what did
you expose yourself to? Yeah. Like, what did you bring into your world?
Obviously, I was born in 1997, so when I was growing up, I was at the forefront of the social media and internet boom, you could kind of say. Having that exposure to information early on was very beneficial, 100%, so that did help. So don't get me wrong, having that accessibility to information and then seeing other people do it, Actually, you know what it was? It was, I saw somebody's transformation in a year or two above me, and I saw him post that on Facebook, and I was like in grade 7, and I went, holy fuck, it's possible. That was it. And then I said to myself, I want to be that for future me's, and that's it. That was it. I remember looking on my phone being like, it's possible. Because I was so convinced. I could never change. I was so convinced I could never change. I remember saying to myself on countless occasions, you're never going to lose the weight. This is always how it's always going to be. You're never going to get good grades at school. Because I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia at a really young age. So I was like, you're going to be a dropout. Just leave school. Don't worry about sport. You're never going to be a professional in any area. All that type of noise, all that negativity. I had that for so long, for so many years. And it was when I saw somebody else go through it, what I was going through at a younger age. When I saw that, I was like, damn, it's actually possible. And that's why I share my story so much right now. And I always have done, because for me, what I do isn't because I want to help people. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I like to help people transform how they look and feel. That's amazing. But it's really being that person that they can see hope, that they don't need to live a life like that anymore. And that's what it was for me.
Oh, man, that's so good. Thank you for sharing, by the way.
No, you're fine. No, it's cool. It's cool. I actually forgot about that moment where I was looking at that phone, so you just brought up something from back in my past that I forgot about, so thank you.
No, absolutely. Well, that itself will inspire the guys listening in, So it's something that, I had to go deep within myself. Like, what did I expose myself to? What's allowed me to sort of expand, like, the mind past those limitations, past those, thoughts, patterns that you have every single day, like first thing in the morning, people say it, don't they? When you get up, when you look at yourself in the mirror, is it a positive or a negative?
Yeah.
It's mainly going to be, I've got to go to work today. I've got to get up and it's all that, But
there was one other one, and there was I'm not sure if you ever watched basketball, but Kevin Garnett in I think the 2012 NBA Finals, like, finished by going like saying anything is possible, like super loud, and that type of energy, and it was infectious. I was like, okay, well, if he's really saying anything is possible, I'm going to lose this weight and see if they're all right. And I did lose it. So that's what I mean by how it kind of gave me the blueprint on how to be successful in my life. For anybody who does listen, has that mindset, trust me, like you said, you get it too. I get it as well. But there is a path to another way of living. It doesn't need to be like it is now. And it is open. It is open. It's very much open, even though you want to convince yourself otherwise. But there's always that 1%. It's kind of like a pie chart, an active pie chart that never stops. It's like 99% mindset. Yeah. It's like, okay, how do we shift that to get 99% the other way?
Yeah. Okay. Because I just think what you've shared though, just in that like piece before, honestly, Boston, is going to really inspire people. I know this sounds really cliche, but even what you shared there about the family thing and how you had to sort of transition that on your own, they could be listening to this and they might be in exactly that moment, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we kind of gone on a little bit of a tangent, but going back to like to finish up like my uni journey in general, when I got into nutrition, I didn't like it because I wasn't getting satisfied enough. Left it. I actually left to do Boston Fitness full time. When I left, my mum didn't talk to me for like a week because she's like, you're becoming a dropout. You're never going to make money with what you're doing. So as much as she was supporting me, she just didn't understand that this was the era where people making money off their laptops were looked as gods. Okay. Do you remember that era? It was kind of like 2015, 2014. Like if you could make a living off your laptop, like, wow, that's amazing. So when I realized I wanted to do that, I bootstrapped Boston Fitness, 6 months of hardcore stuff. Understood that if I want to help more, I need to learn more, and that's when I went into my biomedical degree the year after. Okay. Finished that, then I went into my master's degree. And I kind of had this weird life pivoting moment where I could have continued to do my PhD, but I said no to do Boston Fitness full time. Yeah. So that's kind of like a summary.
Yeah, no, I like that. So it's interesting how obviously your mum came in at that point. I mean, if you remember when you said earlier, your mum was obviously had a Whole Food store in New Zealand and nobody was sort of bothered about it. You know, obviously things grow, things are. So what I'm saying is that was a time, right? You sort of looked at the timing of your business. You made a pivotal decision to go PhD, which people are like, PhD is massive, you know, we'll really go for that. But you went, no, this timing right now for Boston Fitness to get it locked in, to start sharing it with the world is a great moment to kick this on.
Yeah, and my mum's comments came from their own experiences, and I think that's something really 100%. Key when you're listening to your family's experiences. You know, like my mum and dad, although very successful in whatever they did, they were very limited by not having that piece of paper, and for them, us going to university was essentially us being that 1% better than them, because they could never get the opportunities they really wanted because they didn't have that piece of paper. And to say no to that was kind of like saying to my mum, oh, he's going to end up with all the struggles that I had. That's not how I want to do it. So even though that wasn't true in any sense, and I think it's really important whenever you want to do something that you really want to do, you're always going to deal with adversity, even from people that you love. It was hard to navigate that. Like, I was only 18, 19. Trying to navigate that was hard, but I'm glad that I did it because it set me up for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Resistance. There's going to be a lot of that. Was there anybody in your journey when you went into the fitness world that was sort of understanding? Did you ever have that? Did anybody have an old space listen to you, hear you out and go, listen, Boston, you're doing the right thing? In the early stage? Yes
and no. Mum and dad didn't really understand it because this was like 2015, 2016 when you're trying to make money off social media. They're like, what? Yeah, like that's a joke. Yeah, that's a joke. Like, why would you try and do that? And people were doing it. People were making lots of money off social media back then. But it was just really rare compared to what it is now. But what I'm trying to get at here is I never had anybody, because I was from a small town in Australia called Brisbane. There wasn't many people doing it at my age. There wasn't many people doing it in my light. A lot of people were doing it for bodybuilding and fitness influencer. Nobody was doing it for education, to help, to be there for others. So that was when I really realized I was quite different in the sense. And even at university, people would come up to me like, oh, what lab are you going to be a part of when you finish your biomed degree? What research place are you going to join? I said, what the fuck? No, I'm doing this for social media. They couldn't look at me the same after it. They're like, what do you mean you're doing it for social media? And I was like, everything that I'm doing here is to help other people to share content on social media. And they're like, what? So yeah, a lot of adversity, you could say, was quite the norm for me.
Yeah,
in that sense.
I say you built up that armor, I think, just through all of your life of that, I guess, that rejection. So if you can remember an experience, Boston, in this journey when you decided to go into the fitness space where you wasn't like doing what was in your area, such as bodybuilding, you was sort of a niche standout, going against the grain, whatever you want to call it. What was an experience that you can recall on when you actually thought to yourself, I'm doing this. Oh my gosh, this is working. This is going well.
When I did leave university for the first time, I was like, I'm going to give it a hot crack. And it was great, but I just was putting out horse shit because I wasn't educated. My journey was, when I lost weight, was not the typical weight loss journey you see now. Like, I never tracked a calorie. I never followed a structured gym program. I just upskilled like crazy. I decided to learn. I improved my nutritional literacy, which is essentially just like learning what food is and what type of foods affects you and and notice changes in your body. I never tracked my weight. I went to the gym and I hit, muscle groups, but I never followed anything structured. I didn't really apply progressive overload like how people do it now. And I wasn't following like a strict protocol. I was playing lots of basketball, so my cardio was up. So what I essentially did was I fixed my eating habits and I moved more. I lost a lot of weight and it was fantastic. That was it. That's all I kind of had. And the shit I was sharing, when I look back on it now, I was like, "Holy fuck!" And I'm glad that I upskilled. And when I did upskill, it made me realize that this whole game can be so easily manipulated quite quickly with the lack of knowledge.
Oh yeah.
So when I realized that, I was like, okay, I need to keep studying. I want to finish off and do my master's degree, and then I would love to keep studying still. So yeah, that's when I realized, okay, I need to do this differently to how most do it. And that's when I decided to, go down the academic route.
Yeah, which is good. Obviously, I can see you shared quite openly, which I think is good, about your weight loss journey not being typical or what you would see as a structured, proper approach now. So it sounds a little bit like you was winging it. You was just going with it a little bit in a way, just maybe playing with it, and then you sort of then realised, right, I want to really get dialed in, structure it a little bit more, and deliver.
Yeah, I believe the first 10 years it was kind of a good wing, but it was really
problem though.
It was a problem, and this is why I developed a lot of disordered eating habits and overtraining symptoms. So when I did lose weight originally, it was all off look. I look at myself in the mirror. Do I look? Is it going down? Like what's happening here? Is it what's the vibe? That was okay. And then when I finally lost the weight, I was like, fuck, I'm really skinny. Like I need to build some muscle. So I started building muscle. But when you build muscle, you do need to eat a fair bit, and I didn't understand that concept. So because of it, I would find myself in these like weight loss, weight gain periods for a fair amount of time, and then alcohol and going out partying when you were younger was really prominent when I was younger. Like we would go to parties nearly twice a week in high school, and then at uni, same thing. So I would be constantly in this like weight loss, weight gain cycle, and like I developed a good amount of muscle mass. You could look at me back then and be like, yeah, you kind of look like you know what you're talking about. Like that's chill. And then it wasn't until I finished my master's where I was like, right, there's a proper algorithm to this. Let's find it. Let's stop beating around the bush and stop pushing a false reality that you know everything and that you're all good. You're not. You've got, disordered eating like habits. Every 4 weeks you start to burn out because you're overtraining. You're looking at exercise as a means to burn calories as opposed to its health benefits. This isn't an approach you want to share with the world. I'm really glad I did that because it got me out of a path that would have exposed me really quickly or come across as just fucking fake very quickly. But it was really good because it helped me realize like the guessing and hoping plan. Yeah, a lot of people do it, but it can breed unintended consequences.
Hey guys, are you feeling burnt out or wanting a quick breakaway from the daily grind? Well, our friends over at Cyro Boca Place offer the ultimate destination for those seeking a blend of luxury wellness, adventure, and restoration. If you know me, you know I'm fully invested in health and well-being. So if you don't prioritize yourself first, how are you supposed to be showing up for others around you? Looking for an experience like this, head over to www.cyrohotels.com
transformative.com.
I think the fact that you said it brought in some destructive habits, you know, he was in a bit of a cycle. So did you say you was in this for 10 years, sort of the weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss?
No, probably around, probably was around 7 to 8. I lost weight 2025. Oh, no, fuck, it's been like 13 years since I lost my first weight. So basically what happened was during my uni studies in my bachelor degree in Australia, I did my master's degree in London, by the way. But during my uni degrees, my bachelor degree, it wasn't as prominent, but I was noticing some things. Like I was like, I feel like I'm binging right now, or I feel like I can't get out of the cupboard. And even my mate came up to me and said, "Why are you just eating in the cupboard, bro?" And I was like, "Oh fuck, don't you do that?" So it was like little things like that I didn't realize that I was doing. And then I moved overseas to live by myself in London. This was during lockdown. I moved in 2020. Lockdown came about. I also broke up with my girlfriend at the time to move over to the UK. So I was mentally like, okay, I'm about to embark on my master's degree. I've got some residual drag of emotional drag that I've got leaving my girlfriend, and now I'm starting my master's degree. During the master's degree, I tore my meniscus, my MCL in my knee. So not only because gyms were closed, so you couldn't get to the gym, so I was training in my room. I had surgery on my knee. I also went vegetarian, so I lost a lot of weight. So all that initial muscle that I built when I was after my initial fat loss phase when I was younger, it really shrunk, and I was very skinny. And I was like, even my sister said, like, "You're looking anorexic. Like, you need to figure this out."
Right.
And I didn't listen to her because I was like, I can't have that stress. I'm so stressed with uni. I'm so stressed the fact that it's fucking February. It's been locked down for like, I could imagine you remember lockdown very clearly.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, and I was by myself, and I couldn't get back home to Australia, even if I wanted to, because they closed the borders. So it was like this real fucking shit show of a time, and I was like, I'm so stressed with uni, I don't want to worry about my weight. Like, if I have to worry about one more other thing, I'm going to lose it. So I was like, I'm just going to be really skinny and get through it and see what happens on the other side. And when I finished, I was really burnt out. Like, I was drinking, I was smoking weed, I was doing all the things that were really not aligned with who I wanted to be. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm in a bit more of a rut than I probably think.
Yeah, that's insane, because obviously, so when you just prior to lockdown, you'd built up a lot of knowledge, right? So you'd had a lot of expertise. So you kind of started to know so when you go prior to that, you just sort of was like winging it in a good way, but you got all this knowledge, but then you still fell into this rut.
Yeah.
You know, you still, so this is really important for, I mean, I'm sort of like commending your story here, what you're sharing, because I think for you to, I know you share it quite openly online as well, but the fact that you're sort of saying it in this as well is also very powerful. What sort of gave you the itch really to sort of come away from Australia, to come to London, UK to study your masters? What brought you here?
So my mate was actually playing rugby over in Toulon in France, and he was the only one out of all my friends that kind of left Brisbane and decided to go overseas after school and pursue something kind of against the norm. You know, this was someone who didn't go to uni. His dad was able to get him a connect in the Toulon Rugby Club in France. I think it's in France. And
yeah,
he
it is.
played over there for like 2-3 years, and it was really cool, like, to see him go over. And I was really inspired with him, and me and him would gym. Like, a lot of the programs that I was learning from were from people like him, as well as other well-established places. So you could say I never had a PT, I never had a coach, but I would always have mentors like that would share with me their programs, and I would learn from them and do stuff like that. So that's how I would upskill more naturally than, you know, paying, because I couldn't afford it. But anyway, he came, said to me one gym session, and it was the year I was finishing my biomed degree, start of the year, and he said to me, "Why don't you move to the UK? Like, you got a passport." And I was like, "Whoa, true, I can move to the UK. I should move to the UK. I'm going to move to the UK." And then I put it on my whiteboard, UK 2020. I stared at it every morning, and that's essentially what gave me the drive to do it. And I think that's like the power of keeping your goals in the front of your mind, something of a reminder every day. Like, when I was losing weight, I had quotes all over my room, just general things. People will always tell you what they can't do when you're trying to tell them what you want to do, and stuff like that kept me in that mindset of like, climb, go for it, your emotion, go. Like, even to this day, I've got one quote that I've had on my that I brought over from Australia that I've had on my wall since I was like 12. Like, it's just things like that. The quote is, it is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates us from others. So that, my mum gave me that when I was losing weight. And like, that's what kind of stems from when I felt out of touch with my high school because I was never rich. I never had the money, never had the clothes.
Yes.
Like, all my friends were wearing the coolest shit, and I was like rocking up in weird, in hand-me-downs and shit like that. And like, mum kept on reminding me of that. So from such a young age, it's like, doesn't matter what you've got, it's what you are, given. That's what separates people. But yeah, and so to kind of come back to your initial question, it was my mate giving me the idea to go over to the UK because I could. That was the first step.
Yeah, so this is really good. So it's a bit, I like to call this like the hero's journey in life, where they're positioning you as the hero. So the hero's like you going to UK, but they're kind of positioned as the guide. So they've sort of like opened a door for you, like giving you a possibility. And then there was a moment where you had that when you was starting your weight loss journey, where you sort of come across that person on Facebook who you knew, and you was like, man, he's sort of done that. So can I, and then somebody's there giving you a different, well, you've got a passport, you can go to the UK, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So funnily enough, my sister, she left, instead of going into university after high school, she left and she went straight to the UK for eight years.
No way.
But when she said to me, you should move to the UK, it was like, fuck no, I'm not moving to the UK. But then it was like that right moment at the right time. And I think that's really, if you told me 2 years ago or a year ago, even 6 months ago, like, you should move to the UK, I would have turned it down. I would never have looked at it. But because I was in that space of like, okay, I'm now getting into that next chapter of my life, what am I going to do? He came in at the right time and just said it. And then from there, it was like, why not?
Yes. Did you see it as sort of like a reset, Boston, or like a new lease of part of your life? Because obviously you come from all that. It seems like you say, you were the outcast. You didn't normally fit into what was sort of your life back at home. Did you sort of want to sort of start afresh?
Well, my mum's from New Zealand and my dad's from the UK, and we grew up in Australia.
Right.
So when we grew up, another reason why I felt like a little bit out of the whole norm of it all was because my parents weren't from Brisbane. So they didn't have the Brisbane upbringing like most of my friends' parents did. Like, they didn't know the cliques. Like, they had to introduce themselves to them all and get into the whole scene of it all. So I always felt like from an early on age that I was never going to just be in one place, because my parents were travelers. They met on a cruise liner called the Queen Elizabeth II. They traveled
I've heard of that.
Yeah, they've traveled around the world. Yeah, Dad was the head chef of that boat. So that's where they met. Mum was like a wine connoisseur and Dad was the head chef.
This is crazy.
They traveled around the world like 14, 15 times. So me and my sister were always brought up to be like, go to Brisbane, finish your high school, you can like go to university, and then the world's your oyster. Fuck, go do your thing. So for me, it was never a question of if, it was always a question of when. When was it when I was going to go?
Yeah, amazing. It's nice to sort of hear that backstory as well, sort of how, life was like, and then sort of, again, it was the when part. When are you going to sort of take that leap?
Yeah, that's the way I put it.
Yeah, so when you took that leap, then you sort of moved completely to the other side of the world. If you was to now reflect, you've been in the UK, 5 years now?
No, so I actually left the UK after my master's degree, like I said, because I was really just not happy with myself. I was living in London in my sister's apartment, tiny little shitty apartment. I was drinking, I was smoking. I was really not in a good place, and I needed to come home to restart my business, redo all that stuff. So I went home for around 2 years, and then I moved back a year ago with my girlfriend. And she wanted to move to the UK. When she said, I want to move to the UK, I actually shat myself. Not like actually, literally like,
no, I know
myself. I was just like, holy shit, are you making me bring up trauma again? Like, I left on a very traumatic experience because I felt like I was a failure. I felt like I have the degrees, I have the experience. Like, why is nobody hiring me? I couldn't get a job. Just finished a master's degree. And that's what they all tell you, after you finish uni. You're going to get a job. You're going to, everything's going to be sweet. And then, like, that mindset when I was younger started to creep in. I started talking to my parents in the mindset, the frame of like, you told me to do all this. I've now got a master's degree and I can't get a job. Like, why is this happening? You put me in this situation. And then that's when I realized, I was like, okay, I'm not good. I need to get home. I need to reset. And then I actually had never planned on coming back to the UK. I decided I didn't really want to, but I remember leaving being like, I don't feel like that itch has been scratched. And I'm running right now, but I need a break, like a little timeout. Like, you know, when you went to the boxing ring where you take a moment, that was basically what I did in Australia. So, and then I came back and yeah, I'm definitely satisfying that itch, which is great.
Okay, cool. So what's been different this time around then for you in comparison to the
Time.
I
gave it time and I was patient. Like, I really was trying to rush everything when I finished my master's degree, trying to get a job that would, you know, give me a 1-bedroom apartment in London, live that lifestyle. Would have taken me away from Boston Fitness, what I actually did all my studies to do in the first place. I came home. I built myself back up. You know, I put on some good weight. I upskilled in other areas of business. I invested into business. I lived at home. As a 25, 26-year-old, I really started gaining confidence in my business more, because before, really, during my unis, I was selling one-off programs like, you know, PDFs off Canva and shit like that. There wasn't really anything like where I could make a living from. So I needed to turn Boston Fitness into a revenue stream, fully revenue stream. So that was my goal. Did that. And that's when my girlfriend's like, I want to move to the UK. And I went, shit, I need to go online. And then I gave myself 8 months to develop my business to get into online. And yeah, that's how it's kind of gone.
Yeah, just using that time, that patience. Obviously, it's nice to sort of hear that you gave it another shot. You scratched the itch, because obviously you're very traumatic. Like you say, you was in a very low, dark place. Obviously, COVID never really helped any of us.
Yeah, it didn't help anybody. Yeah, exactly. And we all have our own stories from it.
Yeah.
For me, that was it. You know, I was just in a bad state. I was really skinny. I was smoking and drinking, like, to hide the pain. I felt so burnt out from my master's degree, and like I just had my mom and my dad just trying to give me general support, being like, it's okay, keep applying, all that type of stuff. And I even wrote in my diary, you know, journal, I was like, it's really hard at the moment because it's the first time in my life where I feel like I can't actually talk to my parents because they don't understand. And it wasn't until I saw my auntie up in Newcastle, because my dad's a Geordie, he's from Newcastle, and I went up to Newcastle and they saw me when they got off the train. They're like, he's lost like 10, 13 kilos, he's not good, he needs to get home. And I spent probably 2 months up there just being like, okay, what's happening? And then I went back home to Australia when the borders opened. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, so in terms of this, I mean, look, there's been a lot of peaks, a lot of troughs, a lot of turns.
Yeah, you can say that.
You could say there's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of sort of, you're on the path, then you're off the path. There's been a diversion, you're back on the path. You've been digging, the roadworks are coming and all that kind of stuff. For you, if you sort of like reflect on this, I mean, weight loss journey, sort of this journey of moving into another country, for anyone sort of listening in, if they're sort of in a place where they want to immerse into a new environment, maybe just sort of have a reset or a reframe, whatever you want to call it, what have you learned the most about all of this experience that you could just share openly with the guys?
For me, I was always kind of conditioned from the moment I started losing weight to live a life of an uphill battle. That was the norm. Just consistently fighting, consistently going up. But it ruined me. Like, I burnt out so many times, all times that I can count. And I became, in moments of my life where I became the person I didn't want to be, the person I was actually most afraid of. And it wasn't until I actually gave myself permission to chill out and to relax and to take moments to stop and reflect was when my real growth happened. So I think for anybody that's listening, in the sense of what I took from those experiences, is that toxic resilience is a load of horse shit. It's intrinsic resilience what you need. And that needs times where you chill, you reflect, you take time out for you. Because like I said, I've been living an uphill battle for the last 14, 15 years without even knowing. I never gave myself permission to just stop and be. Like, sometimes I look at people at cafe shops, I'm like, how are they just sitting there? Aren't they meant to be doing something? And that's when I realized, okay, maybe something's up here. And it wasn't until I started seeing my therapist, who's like a business high performer therapist in Australia, I said to her, what do I need? Do I need more mental resilience? Do I need to be stronger? Like, do I need to push through? She's like, no, you need to give yourself permission to chill the fuck out, Boston. And it wasn't until I gave myself more permission to chill out, everything in my life has got a lot more, not better, but flows. Instead of being on the survive, I'm flowing.
Wow.
So that's a good way to put it.
What a great way to put it as well, the uphill battle.
Yeah, it's not wrong because especially dudes, you see online the fucking lion and the heavy beat drop, and it's like you're in a dark place and it's got the hoodie on. And it's like you can face all your demons alone, all that type of stuff, and you got to push through. And I get that, like totally true, bro. Like send it, like definitely, but you can't be on motivational fuel and stimulants to get through, 15, 20 years of your life. You need to find that flow. And that comes through moments of pushing and pulling. Like we even chatted about this before the podcast.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. But I think that permission, that letting go, that acceptance, I think just for you to have that space and somebody, I guess, give you a 180 on what you're doing. It's been so conditioned in you to be like, yeah, but I've got to keep fighting. It's a fight. It's a battle. It's a war. I've always got to feel that I'm far enough away, but I'm also close, but I'm never close enough. So I've got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And that's where the burnout sort of led. And I can relate to that burnout 1,000,000%.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you do now then that helps you like be in the flow and allows that permission to sort of chill the fuck out? Like what do you do beyond work and stuff that may help the guys as well?
Yeah, so I'm still figuring it out. At the end of the day, I'm still figuring it out. Like, it's all good all to sit here and say, yeah, flow, bro, give yourself permission. I still find it so hard. Like, I'll sit down and watch because, like I said, I've got my ADHD can really not allow me to chill.
Okay.
And, like, I've had moments where I will be like, cool, I like to watch anime, like Japanese TV shows. And there are moments where I'm sitting down, I'll watch, like, 10 minutes of it, and I'll be on my phone scrolling. What the fuck? My therapist said to me, she's like, if you're going to do something, don't fucking half-ass it. Just do it. And she's like, that counts for work. That counts for chilling. So if you're going to chill, you fucking chill. Don't half-ass it. So that's been really helpful for me to understand that concept of like, okay, what things chill me out? I like to go for walks. I like to watch anime. I like to read. And I like to go on like little adventures with my girlfriend on the weekend. We hire a car out, we go to the Lake District, we do cool stuff like that. When we were in Australia, it was the beach. Instead of me doing it and checking emails and responding to clients and doing things like that, therapist told me to go hard on it. go hard on it. And what's that guy who swam around the UK? Ross Edgley.
Ross Edgley, yeah.
Crazy guy. Absolutely love his stuff. Like, I was a big fan of his stuff when I was doing a master's degree because he's a sports scientist too.
Yes.
So I was reading all his books and everything. And he said in one of his books, it's like, sometimes you need to recover as hard as you train. And I think that was really hitting home hearing those two things. So I think for me, to teach anybody with this, like, you're going to chill out. Chill out. Don't half-ass it.
Yeah.
It really helps because it's kind of like a general advice because I don't even know how you chill out. I don't know whoever's listening how they chill out. But I do know if they chill out and they forcibly, chill out and they eliminate distractions, that's what's been helping me. I'll give myself permission to chill and show up better for the next day, as well as boundaries. Like at 8 p.m. if I'm getting messages from clients, because a lot of my clients are in Australia as well. So I'm getting clients message me at 11, 2 a.m., all that type of stuff. The phone's off. Like, I'll look at it later. And I train now with no phone, and it's been really helpful. It's my time. So yeah, I've been doing stuff like that.
No, that's really good. And I think just how you first answered that question, though, Boston, where you kind of said, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I think that's actually really refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
Because we live in a world of, the front, the filter, the highlight reel, where everyone's like sat in ice baths, sort of meditating, writing in the journal, doing all these motivational things. And you sort of think, gosh, they must have the shit figured out, right?
Yeah.
And you're somebody that's been through all this, and maybe people think, well, surely you know what you're doing now. And you're just like, well, I have made baby steps. I've had guidance, but hey, listen, I'm not perfect. I'm sort of still figuring it out.
Yeah, that's it. Progress over perfection. Like, that's why I go forward with all my clients. One of my philosophies with my coaching, we're after progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Like, I journaled this morning because some stuff was on my mind. I think I was telling you before about some prospective clients that might be jumping on board and all that type of stuff. I had to journal it because my head was all over the shop with it all. And like, things like that are helping, those baby steps, because I'm acknowledging now that I do have things that I have been told and have worked for me before, and it's just reminding myself to employ them. But yeah, like, me saying that at the start was my therapist helping me, allowing myself to give my permission that I don't have it all figured out, and that's okay. I think everybody should be like that. Like, we all should give each other grace. You can't be 100% perfect.
Yeah.
You're never going to be 100% perfect, and figuring it out along the road is the goal, not figuring it all out now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that, and I think it's just, again, it's refreshing to hear, because it's just sort of what you're exposed to, what most people, even what we see, as people, when you sort of like maybe fall into that, like looking at what others are doing, it's like, gosh, they look good, or God, they look like they're doing really well, and it's that comparison, isn't it? And sort of like you lose that when really maybe they're not behind the scenes. They're still figuring it out. They're still sort of trying different things.
Yeah, and I've come to terms, I definitely was a chronic comparisonner. Is that even a word?
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, a lot of moments in my life, and it still pops up. And I've just really come to terms with the fact that, there's always going to be people out there that are doing better than me in whatever area. And I've just got to focus on me and me alone. And I've been culling my social media a lot, which has been helpful. So I've been removing people from my following list, or ignoring or muting their stories, which has really helped me out. So little things like that go a huge way. So that's a nice little practical tip. Like, cull your social media. Don't become a consumer. Create. On social media.
That's good. Yeah, you don't consume, look to create. Definitely if you're someone that's sort of in the social media world. So I'd love to know, because obviously we spoke about sort of the adversity, we've had the challenges, the uphill battles. Obviously you've sort of like calmed it down from the chaos what was once before, saying I've given myself permission. I'd love to know, Boston, throughout all of this, what's been your sort of happiest moment in your life that you can sort of share from going through this adversity? What was sort of like a pinch me moment?
Recently, it was actually going into a co-working space and being accepted into a tech and digital accelerator program here in Manchester, and being accepted on the basis of that as a Boston Fitness. I'm not here for somebody else. I'm not here for anything else. I'm here because Boston Fitness is a company that's growing in the tech and digital space in Manchester, and that was fucking sick. I was like, holy shit, I'm away from my desk now. I've got permission to go and work and be a part of a community, a part of the people that are in this space, and for me to learn from. Like, this is everything that I've been wanting. Even when I was doing my master's degree, my sister, like I said, was living in London during my master's, and she was a barista at a co-working space in London near Liverpool Street. And it was a beautiful co-working space. And I remember walking around being like, I can't wait till I have my own little office there with Boston Fitness. And I pictured it. And then I pinched myself like a month ago, because I was like, holy fuck, it's there. The happiest moments for me are definitely just being around my friends back in Australia and all talking about what we're all doing. I think that's something I definitely still do miss to this day, because like, I don't have my mates I could go down the road to and just have a chat with, or like be like, do you want to go for a run? Do you want to do something like that? That's definitely something I'm learning to fill that void. And it's that definite moment I'm in right now where I've said not goodbye, but I'm not hanging out with my old friends. And I'm in that void between making my new friends that are aligned with how I'm living now, and not my old friends, but my friends of my previous part of my life. I'm in that void. I know I'm going to make them soon. It's just that bit of an unexpected period.
Do you know what? That answer to the question is such a sort of connection to what we've been talking about, Austin, because you said that you was an outcast back at home. You didn't feel accepted. You sort of felt a little bit like not good enough for anything in that private school, and now you've come here and you've gone in somewhere. You were talking about permission, acceptance, feeling belonging, right? You've gone in somewhere and you've just sort of gone, these people are accepting me sort of for who I am, and they value me, and I am good enough, and I'm a part of something. And I think it's just, you see how like that's made a big difference.
But definitely. It took me a while though. Like my girlfriend got towards, February, January this year from like, I was in another probably darker space than I've been in for a while, probably between October and January this year, purely because that uphill battle. I was like toxic resilience. Like, doesn't matter what's happening, as long as the business is making money, doesn't matter what I'm doing on this desk, I'll be here from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. I don't give a shit. Like, it's happening. I don't need to talk to people. Why do I need to talk to people? Do you get what I mean? It was that type of mindset. And it wasn't until my girlfriends kept on planting seeds that she's like, I can't be the only person you see every day. Like, that can't be it. Like, it's not healthy. And then I spoke to my therapist, and then I was planting seeds. So, yeah, for me, it was definitely that belonging piece because, I'm moving my business from Australia to the UK. Like, that's a huge, like, massive. Not me. That's not something that people do on the regular. And then to keep the business afloat with that transition, I needed to be behind the desk for as long as I could, but it was just picking up terrible habits as I was doing it, and because of it I lost that sense of belonging. And when I joined up, applied for this part, when essentially how I got into the program was because I went for a run with a guy who's been kind of nagging me to go for a run. I just kept on putting it off because I was like, why do I need to talk to him? Like, I need to do the business. Do you get what I mean? It was like that type of mindset. And it was that survive mindset. And then I decided to go for a run with him. We chatted, and then he's like, you should apply for this program. And that's how it kind of started.
Epic.
So you need to be that. You can't be alone. You can't be alone.
No.
I don't care I don't care who you are. If you're saying that you're alone, you're not really understanding the potential that you could have with other people doing it all together.
Yeah, well, they say it, don't they? And I think it's an African proverb. Thanks for sharing that. Like, you can go far on your own, but a lot further together.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 100%.
As a team. So no, I love that, and it's great to hear that you've found that and that you're like invested in it as well. Because obviously, probably as we know as business owners, I mean, I know people also battle with loneliness, but being a business owner, again, obviously for you especially, like what you said, your friends are all back at home. You sort of filling that void. Business can be sort of lonely.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely lonely. Like, since being a part of that co-working space, like, all it is being a co-working space. Like, I'm talking it up like I've joined like a full-on community, but it feels like it for me.
Sure.
Like, I'm now part of another community of other founders with other various businesses, and that we catch up once a week and we do events and stuff like that.
Well, look, Boston, we are getting towards the end of the episode, and this is a question. This is your perspective. This is your answer. There's no right or wrong. I love to ask it as like a final piece. Relates to the podcast, by the way. What does mastering your life mean to you, Boston?
There's a word from the Latin. It's from Greek. I think it's pronounced eudaima. It's like EUDAIA. It stands for fulfillment, purpose. That's what it looks like for me. That's it. Purpose.
Purpose.
And it can mean anything that anybody has for them. Like, for me, my purpose is, I believe, helping people believe in themselves through health and fitness. And that's it. Like, if that's what it is right now for me, that's what it is. And I'm happy to continue that because it brings me purpose.
Man, it fills your cup. It lights you up. You can obviously feel that from just, again, it's sort of a nice little finisher because everything you've said in the episode is absolutely spot on for that. It's raw. It's genuine. Look, if anyone's sort of checking in on this and going, do you know what, I want to connect with you, Boston. You seem such a down-to-earth guy. I want to follow you, see your journey, get to know you a little bit more. Where can people connect with you?
Instagram is the best way to go. So Boston Fitness _ Simple as.
Sweet. Well, I'll make sure that obviously it'll be in the show notes as well. So final thing from me, obviously, I really appreciate you spending time with us. And thanks again, Boston. Really, really great. I'm looking forward to this one coming out.
Yeah, same. Thank you.